welcome back to the channel, guys. So now you have clicked the video, I can safely assume that you are a beginner into color grading and you are using Final Cut Pro X as your primary video editing software, and most importantly you don't want to spend a lot of money on buying lots or third-party plugins for your color grading process. I'll try to make this video as simple as possible. We'll just look into the basic color grading process, and this video is going to be a long video probably. So grab your popcorn or whatever you have, and let's do it. Okay, so this is the Final Cut Pro screen, and I'll just give you a brief about the options I'm going to use. And if you come to the right side of this screen, here is the video inspector, and just near to that you will find the color inspector, and for this color grading obviously I'm going to use this one. And inside color inspector you will find 4 options, like one is color board, next one is color wheels, color curves, and hue saturation curves. This color board I don't use it because I don't think this is much helpful. So I'm going to use the color wheels, the color curves, and the hue saturation curves for our basic color grading. And if you come to the left side, here you will find the video scopes, and here it is vector scope. Vector scope is mostly used for just to see the color variation happening in the footage. And below that you will find RGB parade, where you can see the red, green, blue, that color is there. And you will also see, sometimes I will also use this Luma, so you can see the exposure level of our footage. And whatever the changes we are going to do in our footages, that has to be inside this 0 and 100 level. If you go beyond 100, then the highlights will be blown out, and if you go below 0, then you cannot see the details in the shadows. So we have to keep our changes in between this 0 to 100. And if you are making contents for YouTube or Instagram, little bit more than 100 or less than 0, that is acceptable. So I don't think anybody will complain about that. So let's not waste any of your time, and I will just dive into this. So you can see these are the 2 log footages I have selected for my color grading. And first I'll do the exposure correction, then we'll add some saturation to that, then we'll see if we can give it a creative look or not. Okay, so first I will click this first footage, and I'll go to the color inspector here, click this, and I'll go to color wheels. So I'll just bring the shadow, you can see the shadow wheel here. I'll bring the shadow here towards 0. I'll change it to RGB parade because that is okay. Now it looks good. And I will just raise the exposure of the highlight towards 100, but yeah, let's leave it there. I think this is good. And now I'm going to add some saturation to this footage by raising the saturation from this global wheel. Now the saturation added. And for my test, actually I will just reduce the exposure in the midtones. I think okay, here it looks good to me. Okay, now I'm going to use the color curves. So in the color curve, I'm going to use the first option here, the Luma option. And this left one, this is applicable for the darker areas in your footage, and the right one here, this is for the highlights. So to add contrast, I will just reduce some of the shadows in our footage, but at the same time I'll just raise the highlights here just to maintain a balance. And you can see we got one typical S curve, which is necessary for this kind of color grading. Okay, so now I think we have done some basic correction to the exposure and saturation, and we also have added some contrast to our footage. So now I'm trying to give it a proper creative look. So let's see how that is going to change our footage. So for that, again I will go to the color toolbar here, color inspector, then I'll add one more color wheel. So for this I'm trying to get the teal and orange look. So for that I will just move the shadow area towards the teal side, because you can see this is the teal area, and at the same time I'll bring the highlights towards the orange like this, and I'll try to bring down the shadow exposure just to give it a little bit of contrast. I think this is good here, and I will also raise the highlights little bit. Okay, I think this is good, but here one problem is occurring. If you see, this is the shadow area in our footage. When I move the shadow towards teal, the shadow area in our footage, that is also getting the tealy kind of look, but we want more black in the shadow area. I'll just show you by turning it on and off the change. You can see this is you can see the change is happening, but if you closely see this area, maybe you can see this shadow area here, this is getting more teal. So how to avoid that? In that case, we'll use hue saturation curve, and in the hue saturation curve I'll go to this luma versus saturation. There are other so many options here, but right now for this video I'm not going to describe all this, because this will be like more confusing. Then I'm just trying to keep it minimal and simple for you guys. So just go to this luma and saturation. Again, this luma versus saturation, this left side, this is applicable for the shadows, and the right one, this is applicable for the highlights. So if you change anything here, you can see the change is happening like this. If you move around and play, you can see the changes is happening. I'll just reset this, and I'll create one point here, and I'll just simply bring it down just around here. And I'm trying to get rid of this teal look, but it is very subtle, so you might not notice it. But let's see. If you see this RGB parade, the waveform here, you can see the changes happening. This is very minimal, but I can see these small changes will also affect your footage a lot. So let's keep it like this. Okay, so now I can see I have applied all the effects, and by clicking this, by turning this on and off this effects, you can see the previous one. This is the log one without any effect, and this is after applying all the effects. But here there is one more thing I usually do, like while editing my travel footages. So I add vignettes in our footage. So how to find the vignettes? Here, if you see my cursor, this is the effects browser. You just need to turn it on. You'll see something like this, and in the search bar you'll type VIG, and you'll find this vignetting option. Just grab it and drop it on your footage. So once you apply the vignettes, you can see all the corner areas are getting darker. So this is like bit harsh. So I'll just minimize the vignetting effect. I can see right around here, and you also can play. Just a moment, let me check this one. Yeah, you also can decrease and increase this middle area. Okay, you can play with the size, and you can play with the intensity of the darkness by moving it right or left. So we'll not keep it on the extreme right, so we'll just make it up to maybe here. This is again like it's your choice. So for my video, I think this looks good to me. Make it like 0.5. Now let's see what is the change. So this is the log footage, and this is applying all the effects. I think this looks pretty good. Okay, so now we are moving to the second clip. The clip is a little bit challenging because here we need to take care of the skin tone. So it's like whenever you are going to introduce one human being, or you want to emphasize one human being in your footage, then you need to take care of the exposure, saturation and skin tone as well. So that is a bit tricky, so we'll just look how we can achieve that. And talking about the skin tone, if you see on this RGB parade waveform, you can see this 72 mark and this bar, IRE bar. I can move it around like anywhere. So I have placed it at 72 because 72 is the IRE what we usually we mark it for the mild fair skin. And if you go to this vector scope, you find one this bar here. This is actually the skin tone line indicator. So if you don't see this bar in your FCP software, so what you can do, you can just click here, go below here, hide skin tone indicator, just click it here, and to get it back, click again. Skin tone indicator is available. So that actually shows where your skin tone actually falls. We'll see how that works. I'll go to the color inspector, then I'll add one color wheel. I'll take the shadows down to almost 0 and raise the highlights towards 100, not exactly 100, but this is fine. Then I will bring down the mid-tone a little, just right here, maybe this looks okay. I will add some saturation to this footage. This looks okay. And now to add more contrast, I'll go to the color curve, create 2 points, one at the shadows and one at the highlights. I'll bring down the shadows a little bit here, and I'll just raise the highlights to get the S curve. And now you can see the change happen to this log footage. This is the basic grade we have done. So now we'll look how the skin tone can be achieved. For that I will just make it 100% and we'll see. So to achieve the skin tone, first we'll have to select the skin tone. So for that we'll go and take the help of mask. So in the effect browser you will search mask and you will find draw mask. Just select this and drop it on your clip. Don't do anything here, just select the brighter area on our face. I think almost this one. Don't select the eye or lip because then again those have different values of iris and different colors, so you always go for the head, forehead or cheek, like that. Now our skin is selected. I'll go to here the waveform and select the luma just to check where it falls. You can see it goes beyond 72 and almost like 90 around it is coming. So again I will add one more color wheel just for the skin tone, and I will bring down the exposure level just around 72. I think that's okay. And here if we see where the line falls, for that actually just to check we will increase the saturation. So for that just a moment, I'll show you. We'll just select okay. Now you can see actually our skin tone is actually perfectly lying on the skin tone indicator, so I think we don't need to change anything here. So make the exposure back to, make the saturation back to its original position, and we'll just keep it okay. Now change it to RGB parade. Go to the video inspector, get rid of the draw mask. We'll see okay. So now it looks like this. Obviously it is better looking than the log one, but still we have to apply the creative look over here. So let's see how we can do this. So to apply the creative look, again we need to go for another color wheel. So as you can see, I'll just drag the shadows towards teal like this and bring the highlights towards orange. I think it looks okay to me. and I'll just raise it. Okay, like this. I think this is okay. Yeah, this is okay. I'll bring down the midtones a little bit. And here also, if you want to add a little bit of contrast, you can do that. And if you want to add also a little bit of saturation, we can try and see how this looks. I think this is okay, just little bit of saturation in the color wheel 3. Actually here you can add n number of these factors like color boards, color wheels, you can select and add. Okay, now this is almost done. We can add some little bit of contrast by adding color curves, and we'll see, just bring the shadows a little bit up down and raise the highlights just around here. Okay, and now we'll go for the vignette option and see how that actually looks. Okay, again this is pretty harsh, so I will just reduce the darken area here, and we can move it around. Okay, I think the midtones looks okay, but still let me play it full screen. Yeah, I think it looks okay, but still I think we can reduce some of the midtones. So for that I'll go to the color wheels 3, the one I created, and I'll just bring it down. I think okay, this much maybe. Okay, to see the before and after, I'll go to the video inspector, turn off the effects, this is the log one without any effects, and here you can see with all the effects applied. I think it looks pretty good, at least for the basic color correction. This looks good. Wow, it's a long video, and I hope this video will be helpful for you to start your color grading journey. It took me like more than a year just to understand the basics of color grading. So it's quite natural that if you don't understand anything, or it takes a lot of time to reach there, so it's all quite natural. So my suggestion is you to just go out and shoot in vlog, and keep practicing for the basic color grading and all, and I promise you eventually you will reach there. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but the day will come very soon. So having said that, if you like my video, then hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. And yeah, that's it for today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Till then, take care.